right, now we're on the 7th lesson. This is our final lesson of Chapter 5, Negative Exponents and Scientific Notation. This actually, in real class, would take 2 class periods. So I'm going to pause, and you can stop the video and get your work done, and then tomorrow come back and finish the video. Okay, so I'm going to kind of make a big pause in the middle so you can have time to do that. All right. So, negative exponents. Negative exponents are, I'm sorry, I'm setting up my colors real quick. Negative exponents. All right, if you have a smaller exponent on top than you have on the bottom, you end up with a 1 over x cubed. But if you were to subtract these terms instead, you would get a negative 3. All right. So we know that x to the minus 3 is equal to, or the same thing as 1 over x cubed. So that's what that negative means, is that basically the variable is in the wrong place. My silly little way to remember it is that the exponent is negative. He's sad. He's depressed. He's not where he wants to be. So he needs to go home. So he moves. If he's in the denominator and negative, it moves him to the numerator. If he's in the numerator and negative, he moves to the denominator, making my exponents positive. Okay, so this gives us the negative exponent rule. All right. So, this is just 1 over 4 cubed, which is 1 over 64. I have 1 over negative, 7 squared, which is 1 over 49. This is equal to 3 to the negative 1 is 1/3. 6 to the negative 1 is 1/6. Okay, so I do common denominator. I turn this into 2/6 minus 1/6, and that gives me a positive 1/6. Now, again, it's negative. This time in the denominator just means it needs to move. Okay, so this becomes 4 to the 3, which is 64. Negative 2 to the negative 2 is going to be negative 2 squared, which is 4. This is going to end up with 2 squared because it has to move, and the 4 cubed has to move. 2 squared is 4, so I have 4 over 4 cubed, which is going to leave me with 1 over 4 squared, or 1 over 16. This gives me 1 to the minus 2 over 5 to the minus 2. Well, okay, so now we have to move them to get rid of the negatives. So the 5 comes up top and is squared, and the 1 goes below and is squared. Well, 5 squared is 25. 1 squared is 1. So 25 over 1 is 25. All right, so here we have again, they're both negative, so we have to move them. So we end up with y over x to the 12. There's nothing I can do to simplify it, so that would be finished. All right. Simplifying exponential expressions. All right, this means removing parentheses, no powers raised to powers Each base occurs once and no negative or zero exponents. The biggest trick here is we have to remember no negative or zero exponents. Okay, so to remove parentheses, use the power rule, products to power rule, and the quotient rule or the quotient to power rules. So here we just moved that power 3 into the monomial. All right. 3 times 4 is 12, and that's all we can do. Okay, let's look at the next page. To make sure a base only appears... To make sure a base only appears... Oh, that's not supposed to say only. That should say once. Use product and quotient rules. Okay. So see, we've put these together. To make sure that there are no negative exponents or negative exponents... No zero exponents or negative exponents, use the zero exponent rule to simplify. All right, so let's see how this works. So, x to the negative 11 plus 5 gives me x to the negative 6, which is 1 over x to the 6. For 2, we end up with 5 times 3 is 15, x to the negative 7 plus 3, which gives us 15 x to the negative 4, which is 1 over, it's 15 over x to the 4. The negative exponent was on the x only. It's the only thing that moves. (45) divided by 15 is 3. 4 minus 12 is negative 8. To rewrite it properly, I get 3 over z to the 8. I'm first going to get rid of the parentheses in the denominator. I have x to the 5 over x to the 3 times 2 is 6. Now I have x to the 5 minus 6, x to the negative 1, 1 over x. Simplify the top to get rid of the parentheses. 5 squared is 25. X 3 times 2 is 6 over x to the 7. So I'm going to have 25 over x. 6 minus 7 is negative 1. Move that x into the denominator. Okay. Now there's a couple of ways I could do this. I could do the negative 3 first, but since they're both x and easy to simplify inside the parentheses, I'm actually going to do that first. So x to the 6th divided by x squared turns into x to the 4th. So I have x to the 4th to the negative 3. Now I use that negative. I'm going to multiply the two together and I get x to the negative 12. So that's 1 over x to the 12. Minus 3, y to the minus 1, to the minus 3. So confusing. Okay. So I have negative 3 to the negative 3, y to the 3. Negative 1 times negative 3 is just 3. Okay, so this becomes Well, I need to use a highlighter. All right. This negative, since this is odd, that negative stays around. So I have a negative 3 cubed is 27. No. I'm trying to figure out how to do this so it's more obvious for you. Hang on. I know what it will do. Okay, our first step, we're going to turn this into y cubed over negative 3 cubed. So we know it's negative because of the odd power. 3 cubed is 27. So that's what we get. Negative y cubed over 27. Okay, so I'm first going to cross out the 5, leaving me with a 4 in the denominator. So I have 3 x to the 3 plus 14 over 4 x to the 14. So the x to the 14 is going to cross out with that x to the 14. And I'm going to get 3x cubed over 4. All right, this is part 2, scientific notation. Actually, I think I'm going to stop here, and you'll have to start a different video to finish because this will go on the page for the next day.